The vast emptiness of space stretched out like an infinite black canvas, with pinpricks of distant starlight barely breaking the darkness. The research vessel Horizon drifted silently, its sleek metallic hull reflecting the pale light of a nearby neutron star. Captain Jaehoon Park sat in her command chair, her fingers moving across holographic displays with practiced precision. Without warning, a massive alien vessel materialized from subspace, its crystalline structure gleaming with an otherworldly iridescence. The Horizon's detection systems screamed to life, but it was already too late. Powerful energy beams locked onto the human ship, immobilizing its systems with surgical efficiency. Jaehoon remained calm. Her dark eyes scanned the emergency protocols, her mind racing through potential scenarios. The crew of 12 looked to her, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. She knew these weren't ordinary invaders, their technology was generations beyond anything humanity had encountered before. Massive energy tendrils wrapped around the Horizon, pulling it into the alien vessel's enormous docking bay. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, creating a strange, disorienting sensation. Metallic sounds of connection echoed through the hull, the sound of capture. "Prepare for potential boarding," Jaehoon commanded, her voice steady. Her hand instinctively touched the small communication device hidden beneath her uniform, a last resort emergency beacon that could transmit critical information if everything else failed. Alien beings began to materialize, tall, crystalline humanoids with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal energy patterns. Their movement was precise, almost mechanical. Each carried sophisticated scanning devices that swept across the human vessel with cold, calculating efficiency. The lead alien, who identified himself as Curl, approached Captain Park. His voice emerged not through a mouth, but through a complex resonance field that translated directly into her mind. "Human vessel. Your exploration has reached unauthorized spatial territories. Prepare for comprehensive interrogation." Jaehoon studied Curl. She recognized the typical posturing of a species convinced of its own superiority. The alien's body language suggested absolute confidence, a dangerous trait that often preceded a significant miscalculation. Two security drones moved forward, their energy constraints designed to immobilize any potential resistance. But Jaehoon knew resistance wasn't always physical. Her years of training had prepared her for scenarios far more complex than simple physical confrontation. The alien team began separating the crew, isolating each member for individual processing. But Captain Park was their primary target. Her role as mission commander meant she would hold the most strategic information about human space exploration capabilities. As they moved her towards the interrogation chamber, Jaehoon noticed subtle details. The alien scanning technology, while advanced, had specific blind spots. Their communication systems relied on predictable quantum entanglement protocols. Each observation was a potential weakness waiting to be exploited. The interrogation chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, walls that could read psychological responses, energy fields that could induce compliance, and neural scanning technology that promised to extract information with mathematical precision. To the aliens, this room represented the pinnacle of information extraction. To Jaehoon, it represented an opportunity. Curl approached, his crystalline form casting prismatic reflections across the chamber's smooth surfaces. "You will provide complete disclosure of human spatial expansion parameters," he stated, more as a command than a question. Captain Park sat down, her posture relaxed yet alert. A slight smile played at the corner of her mouth, the kind of smile that suggested she knew something they didn't. The interrogation was about to begin, and neither the aliens nor Captain Park knew exactly how it would unfold. But one thing was certain, this was going to be far from a typical first contact scenario. The universe watched, silent and waiting. The interrogation chamber hummed with strange energy, its walls pulsing with soft blue light that seemed designed to induce calm. Curl positioned himself directly across from Captain Jaehoon Park, believing his advanced neural scanning technology would extract information effortlessly. "Describe your mission's primary objective," Curl demanded, activating a complex neural interface that would typically break down any species' psychological defenses within minutes. Jaehoon smiled. Not a nervous smile, but one that suggested complete inner control. Her eyes remained steady, her breathing measured. She understood exactly what the aliens were attempting: a systematic psychological deconstruction designed to reveal vulnerabilities. The alien scanning devices began their intricate dance, sending waves of quantum-level investigation through her neural pathways. Most species would have already collapsed under such intense psychological pressure. Humans, however, were different. Curl noticed something unusual. Instead of fear or resistance, Captain Park displayed a curious neutrality. Her mental responses didn't follow any predictable pattern the aliens had mapped from thousands of previous interrogations across multiple galactic civilizations. "Your mission parameters," Curl repeated, increasing the neural interface's intensity. "We were studying quantum particle interactions near the neutron star," Jaeun responded, her voice calm and matter-of-fact. Each word was precisely chosen, revealing just enough information to seem cooperative while providing absolutely nothing of strategic value. The alien investigators exchanged quick glances. Their sophisticated technology showed her statements were technically accurate, yet something felt off. She was telling the truth, but not the entire truth. Curl adjusted his neural interface, increasing pressure that would typically cause psychological fracturing. Most species would show micro-expressions of stress, subtle eye movements, minute muscle contractions, slight perspiration. Jaeun showed nothing. Her mental landscape remained remarkably stable. Years of specialized human psychological training had prepared her for exactly this scenario. Military protocols, developed through centuries of conflict and strategic thinking, had created humans capable of resisting even the most advanced interrogation techniques. The aliens began to realize they were dealing with something unexpected. Humans weren't just another spacefaring species to be categorized and processed. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and psychologically complex. Jaeun recognized the moment the aliens started becoming frustrated. Their scanning devices began moving more frantically, trying different neural approach angles. She knew they were searching for a psychological weakness, a crack in her mental defense. "Your resistance is illogical," Curl stated, a hint of uncertainty entering his typically emotionless communication. "Is it?" Jaeun responded, her eyebrow slightly raised. That single gesture contained volumes, a silent challenge that suggested she understood something they did not. The interrogation continued, with the aliens becoming increasingly confused. They were accustomed to systematic, predictable responses. Jaeun was anything but predictable. With each passing moment, she was gathering information. Not through direct communication, but through observation. The way the aliens moved, their communication protocols, the subtle hierarchical interactions, everything was a potential source of intelligence. Curl realized they had made a fundamental error. By attempting to break her, they were actually providing her with valuable insights into their own systems and psychological approach. Unbeknownst to the aliens, Captain Jaeun was no longer just a prisoner. She had transformed into an active intelligence gatherer, turning their own interrogation technique into a strategic opportunity. The chamber continued to pulse with its soft blue light, a silent witness to a psychological battle unlike any the aliens had ever experienced. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't advanced technology or physical strength. It was the ability to remain calm, adaptable, and strategically patient in the face of the unknown. And Captain Jaeun Park was a master of that art. The interrogation entered its third hour, a period that would have broken most species multiple times over. Curl and his team watched Captain Jaeun with increasing confusion. She seemed to be transforming the very dynamics of their carefully constructed interrogation process. With calculated precision, Jaeun began sharing seemingly mundane information about human research protocols. Each statement was crafted like a delicate piece of strategic artwork, technically true, yet hiding deeper implications that the aliens couldn't immediately comprehend. "Our research vessels typically operate with minimal crew," she explained, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the smooth surface of her restraint chair. "Resource efficiency is our primary consideration." The alien investigators didn't realize that within this simple statement, she was revealing the human's capacity for complex mission planning and strategic resource management. More importantly, she was subtly testing their information processing capabilities. Curl's neural interfaces began showing peculiar readings. The information Captain Park shared didn't match any previous data they had collected about human exploration methods. It was both familiar and completely alien, creating a cognitive dissonance that started to destabilize their interrogation protocols. She spoke about stellar mapping techniques, describing them with a technical precision that suggested deep scientific understanding. But between her technical descriptions, she inserted subtle psychological triggers, small conversational nuances that made the aliens question their own investigative approach. One of the junior alien investigators, a junior analyst named Vex, noticed something strange. The human's psychological profile was dynamically changing with each interaction. Traditional alien scanning techniques were becoming increasingly ineffective. "Your research methods seem unconventional," Curl stated, trying to maintain control of the conversation. Jaeun smiled. It was a smile that didn't reveal anything, yet suggested she knew far more than she was saying. With each passing minute, she was systematically dismantling their interrogation strategy. Not through direct confrontation, but through a subtle, almost elegant psychological manipulation that the aliens found increasingly difficult to categorize or counter. She began describing human technological development, framing it in a way that made their advancements seem both impressive and deliberately understated. The aliens couldn't determine whether she was revealing critical information or masterfully concealing it. Vex noticed something else: micro-changes in the communication protocols. The human wasn't just responding, she was subtly reshaping the entire conversational landscape. Her responses created cognitive loops that made traditional alien information extraction techniques increasingly complex. The interrogation chamber, once a place of certain information extraction, had transformed into a psychological battleground where traditional rules no longer applied. Curl realized they were no longer conducting an interrogation. They were engaged in a complex psychological chess match, with Captain Park making moves that consistently remained 3 steps ahead. Her true genius wasn't in resisting their technology. It was in using their own technological assumptions against them, creating uncertainty where they expected absolute control. Each statement she made was like a carefully placed stone, gradually redirecting the river of their understanding. She wasn't fighting their technology, she was elegantly demonstrating its limitations. The aliens began to understand a critical truth: humans were not just another species to be categorized and processed. They were an adaptive, complex civilization that could transform even the most sophisticated interrogation into an opportunity for strategic insight. As the interrogation continued, Captain Jaeun Park remained calm, her eyes reflecting a universe of strategic possibilities that the aliens were only beginning to comprehend. The real interrogation, they were slowly realizing, was not about extracting information from her. It was about understanding her, and by extension, humanity itself. And that was a challenge they were rapidly discovering they might not be prepared to meet. The psychological landscape of the interrogation chamber shifted dramatically. Captain Jaeun Park was no longer a passive subject, she had become an active strategist, transforming the entire dynamic of her captivity. Curl noticed the first subtle change when she began asking seemingly innocent questions about their civilization. Her inquiries were crafted with surgical precision, each word designed to probe deeper than any traditional interrogation technique. The aliens didn't realize they were the ones being analyzed. "Your communication systems," she remarked casually, "they seem to rely on quantum entanglement networks." It was a statement that sounded like an observation but carried the weight of a carefully laid trap. Vex, the junior investigator, felt uncomfortable. The human's gaze seemed to penetrate beyond the physical, reading subtle interactions between the alien team members that they believed were imperceptible. Her ability to notice hierarchical tensions and unspoken power dynamics was unprecedented. With each question, Jaeun exposed tiny fractures in the alien interrogation team's psychological structure. She identified internal disagreements, highlighted communication inefficiencies, and subtly manipulated their own investigative protocols. The alien technology, designed to extract information, was now feeding her critical intelligence about their societal structure. Communication patterns, decision-making processes, technological limitations, everything became potential intelligence. Her approach was brilliantly simple. While appearing cooperative, she was systematically dismantling their interrogation framework. The aliens believed they were conducting an investigation, but in reality, they were providing her with a comprehensive blueprint of their civilization. Curl realized too late that they had made a fundamental error. By attempting to break Captain Park, they had given her the most valuable resource possible, a complete, unfiltered view of their operational methodology. The communication beacon hidden in her uniform began transmitting encoded information. Each interaction, each moment of the interrogation was being recorded and analyzed by human intelligence teams light years away. The aliens remained completely unaware. "Tell me about your exploration protocols," she would ask, her voice neutral. But within that simple request lay a complex strategy of information gathering that the aliens couldn't comprehend. Psychological warfare had always been a human specialty. Centuries of conflict, diplomatic negotiations, and strategic thinking had prepared them for precisely this type of encounter. The aliens, with their rigid technological approach, couldn't adapt quickly enough. Vex began to feel a growing sense of unease. The human wasn't just resisting, she was actively turning their interrogation into an intelligence-gathering operation. Her psychological flexibility was becoming their greatest vulnerability. The interrogation chamber, once a tool of control, had transformed into a complex network of psychological manipulation. Captain Park was rewriting the rules of engagement with each passing moment. Her true strength wasn't in physical resistance or technological countermeasures. It was her ability to read, understand, and manipulate complex psychological systems faster than her captors could comprehend. Curl's advanced scanning systems began showing increasingly erratic readings. The human's neural patterns didn't conform to any known biological or technological prediction models. She was operating on a level of psychological complexity that their systems were never designed to handle. As hours passed, the power dynamic subtly shifted. The interrogators became the interrogated, with Captain Jaeun Park conducting a masterclass in strategic information extraction. The aliens were learning a critical lesson about humanity. They were not just another species to be categorized and processed. They were adaptive, complex, and capable of turning even the most sophisticated technological systems into opportunities for strategic advantage. Captain Park's smile was not just a gesture. It was a silent declaration of psychological victory. The real invasion, they were discovering, wasn't happening through weapons or technology. It was happening right here, in this room, through the most powerful weapon humanity possessed, its extraordinary, unpredictable mind. The silence in the interrogation chamber became thick with anticipation. Captain Jaeun Park had transformed from a captive to a strategic mastermind, her every movement calculated with precision that the alien investigators were only beginning to comprehend. Suddenly, distant vibrations signaled an incoming transmission. The alien communication systems began to fluctuate, a phenomenon they had never experienced before. Curl's sophisticated quantum interfaces started breaking down, revealing unexpected vulnerabilities. A low hum grew from outside the vessel. The human rescue team was approaching, guided by the intricate coded messages Jaeun had been strategically transmitting throughout her interrogation. Each seemingly innocent conversation had been a carefully planted navigation beacon. The alien leadership realized their fundamental mistake. They had assumed humans were a primitive species, easily manipulated and controlled. Captain Park had systematically dismantled that assumption with surgical precision. Vex, the junior investigator, watched in growing horror as human communication signals began overwhelming their most advanced technological defenses. The rescue team wasn't just approaching, they were demonstrating a level of strategic coordination that completely shattered the aliens' understanding of human capabilities. "Your technology is impressive," Jaeun remarked calmly, "but technology is just a tool. Understanding is the real weapon." Her words carried a profound truth that resonated through the alien vessel. Humanity's strength wasn't in advanced weaponry or superior technology. It was in their ability to adapt, to understand, and to strategically transform any situation. The rescue vessel approached with unexpected speed, its design unlike anything the aliens had encountered. It moved with a fluidity that suggested intelligence beyond traditional mechanical navigation. Each movement was calculated, each approach a demonstration of strategic thinking. Curl's communication systems began to collapse. The quantum networks they had relied on for millennia were being systematically disrupted by signals that seemed to understand their most fundamental communication protocols. "We underestimated humans," Vex whispered, a statement that would echo through their civilization's historical records. The rescue team's approach wasn't just a military operation. It was a complex psychological strategy that demonstrated humanity's most powerful attribute, the ability to turn limitations into opportunities. Captain Park remained calm, her posture suggesting she had known the outcome from the very beginning. The aliens had believed they were conducting an interrogation. In reality, they had been providing her with the most comprehensive intelligence report about their civilization. Massive energy fields surrounded the alien vessel. The human rescue team wasn't just arriving, they were systematically neutralizing the alien ship's defensive capabilities with a precision that suggested deep, strategic understanding. "Your biggest mistake," Jaehoon said quietly, "was believing you could understand us through your technology." The alien leadership watched in shock as their most advanced systems were systematically dismantled. Not through brute force, but through an intelligent, adaptive approach that completely redefined their understanding of technological conflict. Rescue protocols activated. The human team moved with a coordination that suggested they were operating as a single, intelligent organism. Each movement was synchronized, each action a part of a larger, complex strategy. Vex realized something profound: humans weren't just another species to be categorized. They were a dynamic, adaptive civilization that could transform any technological challenge into an opportunity for growth and understanding. The vessel's systems began to shut down. Not through violent destruction, but through a systematic, almost elegant dismantling that suggested complete technological superiority. Captain Jaehoon Park stood, her posture calm and controlled. She wasn't a prisoner anymore. She was a representative of a civilization that had just demonstrated its true potential. "We came in peace," she said, "but were prepared for anything." The ultimate revelation wasn't about technological superiority. It was about humanity's extraordinary ability to adapt, to understand, and to transform even the most challenging situations into opportunities for growth and strategic advantage. The universe watched, silent and understanding.